We continue now at the top of Daf Dalet Amud Beis Meseches Makkos. This is Makkos Daf 4b. On the previous Amud, the Mishnah had a machlokas tanoim between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. Rabbi Meir said that when it comes to Edom Zomin, they can get two punishments. For example, they'll get Malkus because of the violation of Lo Sana, that they testified falsely, and then they can get Kasher Zamam. If Kasher Zamam is money, they would pay money. If Kasher Zamam is Malkus, they would get another set of Malkus. They would get 80 Malkus. But according to the Rabbanan, that is not the case. They do not get any punishment for Lo Sana. They just get the Kasher Zamam punishment. So if it's money, they'll pay money. If Kasher Zamam is Malkus, then they're going to have one set of Malkus. And the Gemara now says, B'shalom l'Rabbanan. I understand according to the Rabbanan. Where do they learn out that it's just one punishment? And this Rashi already mentioned in the previous Amud. Kidei rishaso ksiv, it says in the pasuk, according to his wickedness. And we understand from that, Misham risha achas, atam mechayvo. For one crime, we're going to make him liable. V'yatam mechayvo, Misham shtei rishayis. We're not going to say he's liable for two crimes. And that's why, according to the Rabbanan, the person just gets that one punishment of the Kasher Zamam. Ela Rabbi Meir, but according to Rabbi Meir, in my time, what's the reason of Rabbi Meir that there can be two punishments? And the Gemara says, Amar Ula. Ula says, Gamar mi Motzi Shemra. Ula says that we learn it out from Motzi Shemra. We find by Motzi Shemra that that the person does get two punishments. Motzi Shemra is somebody who lies, who says falsely about the woman that he marries, that she's not a Basula, that she's not a virgin. And Ma Motzi Shemra, just like by Motzi Shemra, Loka Umashalim, there's a punishment the Malkus and the person has to pay. Afkal Loka Mashalim. So too by other situations, the punishment can be loco mashalim. You can have a punishment of getting malchus and paying. And Rashi explains, Motzi Shemra lo matzasi levitcha besulam. Again, I didn't find that your daughter had besulam. She was not a virgin. Loco mashalim, the punishment is malchus and payment. It's written v'yisro v'anshu oso. It says v'yisro and it says v'anshu oso. V'amrinim b'ksubas, we say in ksubas v'yisru zeh malchus, that v'yisru is referring to malchus. And of course, it's mentioned over there, the fine that is imposed, that the person who's a Motzi Shemra has to pay money as well. And so you see loco u'mashalim, and so too you can understand loco mashalim by all situations. But the Gemara continues, Ma'ala Motzi Shemra Shekain Kanas. You can't learn from Motzi Shemra, because Motzi Shemra is a fine, it's a Knas. And anytime you have a Knas, as Rashi notes, it's a Chiddush. The idea of paying a fine is a Chiddush, and you can't learn from something like a Knas to something like Mammon Edom Zomin, which is a monetary payment. And the Gemara says, no, that's not a question, because Savar Lok Rabbi Akiva, because we'll simply say, Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi Akiva. Diamar Edom Zomin Kanasu. Rabbi Akiva says also that Edom Zomin is a Knas, it's a fine. We mentioned this earlier. The reason why Edom Zomin might be a Knas is because they tried to do something to the defendant. They didn't actually succeed, and therefore their punishment is really not a monetary payment, but it's considered a Knas, it's considered a fine. And the Gemara continues, Ika damasni lahad ula aha. There are those that learn the statement of Ula on the following. What the Gemara here is referring to is that Ula says, Gamar mi Motzi Shemra. We learn out from Motzi Shemra. We're understanding that Ula is explaining Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah with that statement of Gamar mi Motzi Shemra. But there are some that say that he actually made that statement on the following. Titania, because we learned in a Brisa, this is by the Korban Pesach, the Pasuk says, Lo so siru mimenu ad boker. It says you can't leave over the Korban Pesach until morning. V'hanos mimenu ad boker, and whatever is left over, it has to be burned. So the Tanna Kama says that the pasuk over here is having a positive commandment that fixes the violation of the negative commandment. Lomar, meaning to say, she'ein lok and all of that, there is no malchus. Meaning in a situation where the Korban Pesach was left over until morning, you're not going to get malchus for that violation. Rather, there is a solution. There's a mitzvah saseh that you're supposed to burn it. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, these are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Essentially, Rabbi Yehuda is saying that by a lav hanituk laseh, there is no malchus. That's this case. Rabbi Akiva says, Lo min Hashem huzeh. That's not the real reason why there's no malchus. Ela mishum dehavale lav she'ein bo ma'isa. The real reason why there's no malchus is because leaving it over until the morning is a negative commandment, but it doesn't involve any action. V'chol lav she'ein bo ma'isa ein lokan olav. And anytime you have a lav she'ein bo ma'isa, there is no malchus. And Rashi explains, Ika damasni lo lahadu ula lomar shein lokan olav. Again, there are those who have the statement of ula on the following, and it says, according to the Tanna Kama, that it's a lav shenitak laseh, that's Rabbi Yehuda, it's a lav hanitak laseh, there's no malchus, sha'aseho amar acharav, takonoso v'chaparoso alaveres alav. The aseh that's written after, that is the solution, that is the atonement for the transgression of the lav. And then Rabbi Akiva responds, Lo min Hashem huzeh, that's not the reason. Ein tam ze'ikr, that's not the main reason. The lav shenitak laseh in lokan olav, that it's a lav shenitak laseh, there's no malchus. What's the reason why the person who leaves it over doesn't get malchus? Levishu lav she'ein bo ma'isa. The reason is because it is a lav she'ein bo ma'isa. Again, that's what Rabbi Akiva says. And so the Gemara continues, Mechlal, the Rabbi Yehuda Savar, Lav Shein Bo Maisa, Lokan Olav. Now this entire discussion between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Akiva, the implication is, Rabbi Akiva is saying, Lav Shein Bo Maisa, there is no Malkus. Apparently Rabbi Yehuda would say that a Lav Shein Bo Maisa, there is Malkus. And on that we ask Menole, from where does he get that idea? Where does Rabbi Yehuda know that Lav Shein Bo Maisa gets Malkus? And that's where Ula made his statement. Amar Ula says, Gamar mi Motzi Shemra. That's learned out from Motzi Shemra. Ma Motzi Shemra, Lav Shein Bo Maisa, Lokan Olav. Just like a Motzi Shemra, what is he doing? He's speaking, there is no action. And we say there's Malkus. Af kol Lav Shein Bo Maisa, Lokan Olav. So to any time you have a Lav Shein Bo Maisa, there can be Malkus. But the Gemara continues and says, can you really learn from Motzi Shemra? Ma'ala Motzi Shemra, Shekena Loko Meshalim. What's unique about Motzi Shemra is that it's Loko Meshalim. There's Malkus and there's payment. It's not just Malkus. There's payment as well. Therefore, it is unique. So maybe you can't learn out from Motzi Shemra. And so the Gemara continues, Elo Amar Reish Lakish. Rather, Reish Lakish says it's learned from a different source. Gamar Me'edim Zomamin. We can learn out from Edim Zomamin. Ma'edim Zomamin Lav Shein Bo Maisa. Just like Edim Zomamin is a Lav Shein Bo Maisa. Lokan Olav and there's Malkus. Af kol Lav Shein Bo Maisa Lokan Olav. So to any Lav Shein Bo Maisa, a person can get Malkus. So maybe the source, according to Reish Lakish, again, is from Edim Zomamin. But Edim Zomamin is also unique. Maybe you can't learn from there. Ma'al Edim Zomamin Shekain Ein Tzrichan Hasra. When it comes to Edim Zomamin, there's no requirement of a warning. In general, there's usually a requirement of a warning when it comes to receiving Malkus. That's not true by Edim Zomamin. And so the Gemara says we'll make it Tzad Hashavi. We'll learn it out from the combination of both Edim Zomamin and Motzi Shemra. We'll find the common denominator. Motzi Shemra Yochiach. Motzi Shemra can prove the other way. There's a warning there. V'chazar Hadin, and it goes back and forth. Lo Roi Zeh Karoi Zeh, V'lo Roi Zeh Karoi Zeh. This one is not like this one, and this one is not like that one. Meaning to say each one has something unique about it, but it's a different uniqueness. And Hatzad Hashavi Shebehen. But what's the common denominator? Lav Shein Bo Maisa V'lokan Olav. They're both Lav Shein Bo Maisa, and they get Malkus. Af kol Lav Shein Bo Maisa Lokan Olav. So too, by all Lav Shein Bo Maisa, there can be Malkus. And Rashi explains, Gomer Me'edim Zomamin, we learn from Edim Zomamin, Ma Edim Zomamin, Lav Shein Bo Maisa V'lokan, just like Edim Zomamin is Lav Shein Bo Maisa and they get Malkus. That's Edim Zomamin Lokan Al Diburim. Edim Zomamin can get Malkus just for speaking, there's no action. Be'edei Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, for example, the very first mission of the Mesechta, by the testimony by Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, we say the punishment for Edim Zomamin is Malkus. And then the Gemara said, Edim Zomamin Ein Srichan Hasra, Edim Zomamin do not need a warning. B'chsubas Amrin on time, and Ksubas, the reaon is given for this. Be'elo Narus and Perak Elo Narus, Nasri Buhu Emas. The Gemara goes through a discussion. Well, when exactly should we give them that warning? Aval Kol Shar Onshin Bebezin Shalmata Tzrichan Hasra. All other punishments that are given by the earthly courts, they do require a warning. But the Gemara continues, Mal Hatzad Hashava Shebehen, but what common denominator we can find between Edim Zomamin and Motzi Shemra? We actually can find a common denominator, Shekain Knas, because they're both fines, and if they're both fines, we can say that by other situations, we would not be able to learn out that Lav Shein Bo Maisa gets Malkus, so maybe you can't really even learn out from the combination of Motzi Shemra and Edim Zomamin, this idea of Rabbi Yehuda that Lav Shein Bo Maisa gets Malkus. And the Gemara says, Halo Kasha, that's not difficult, because Rabbi Yehuda lo savar like Rabbi Akiva will simply say that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold like Rabbi Akiva. He does not hold that Edim Zomin is a knas, and therefore if Edim Zomin is not a knas, you can't say that's the tzad hashava. The Gemara then continues, Ela mala tzad hashava shebehen shekain yesh bohen tzad chamor. Well, maybe we can say the common denominator is that both of them have something strict, even though it's not the same thing, but Motzi Shemra has something that is unique about it. Again, as we said above, Motzi Shemra is loko mashalim, there's malchus and you pay, and by Edim Zomin also, of course, you can say there's something unique. It's different, but there's something unique that it doesn't require hasra, but it's a tzad chomer, it has something unique, maybe that's enough to destroy a tzad hashava. But the Gemara says to that, for Rabbi Yehuda, tzad chomer lo parach, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't ask from tzad chomer. Essentially, tzad chomer would destroy every single tzad hashava, and Rabbi Yehuda says you can't ask that. If it's different, if it's a different thing that is unique, you have to find the common denominator. You can't say that they both have a tzad chomer. As Rashi explains, tzad chomer lo parach, he doesn't refute things based on tzad chomer. Hoil v'chomro shel zeh, eino chomro shel zeh. This one's stringency is not the same as that one's stringency. Ein tam hamalkus totally, but you can't say that that's the reason for the malchus. So again, we look for that other tzad hashava, that it's a lav shein bo maisa that gets malchus. And the Gemara continues and returns to the machlokas between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah. The Rabbanan, now according to the Rabbanan, where you're only getting one set of malchus for kasher zaman, but not for losane. So hi losane breacha et shakem ma'idar shibei. What do they do with the pasuk of losane? And the Gemara says to that, ahumi boile liazhar le'edim zomin. They need that for the warning for edim zomin. That's the warning pasuk that edim are not allowed to testify falsely. For Rabbi Meir, azhar le'edim zomin menale. Where does Rabbi Meir learn a warning for edim zomin? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Nafkale, mivahanisharim yishmu v'yiro v'lo yosifu. It says, he learns it out from the pasuk, which says that the rest of the people are going to hear and they will be afraid and they will not continue to do this violation. So that's really a warning. For Rabbanan, the Rabbanan respond to that, Hahumi boile, that is needed for, and Rashi explains, Li azhara le'edim zomen, for a warning for edim zomen, lo onshon b'din hazama, meaning to punish them with the din of hazama. V'lo nitan la'onish malchus, it's not meant for the punishment of malchus, it's a warning, and then they get the punishment of kasher zama. Ela shalohoya lo la'onshon b'din hazama, imkain hisr, you can't punish them with kasher zama unless there's a warning. And so therefore, again, the Rabbanan say this is the warning pasuk, and Rabbi Meir, he learns the warning from Vahanisharim Yishmu V'Yiro V'Lo Yosifu Lasos Hare Azhara B'Parshas Edom Zoman Ksiv. This is a warning that is actually written in the section about Edom Zomamin, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Hey Amud Aleph.